Welcome to the Horror Next Door. Happy Friday the 13th. As usual, we're back with a Friday the 13th related video. Today we're going to be talking about our favorite kills from each movie in the franchise. But before we get started, if you like everything horror movies, memorabilia, and masks, please subscribe. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Now let's begin. Friday the 13th, 1980. There are 10 deaths in the original Friday the 13th, 9 of them by the film's killer, who was of course Pamela Voorhees, the other being Pamela's death by the hands of Alice. Of those 10 deaths, my favorite has to be Marcy, who gets an axe to the face. It's not super bloody, but it's horrific. There's just something crazy about her getting hit right in the face with an axe.
My favorite is Jack getting an arrow through the neck. This Kevin Bacon kill is just pretty iconic. It's really memorable. I think especially for the time it was very unique and something that hadn't really been done before. And I feel like a lot of people used that idea or that method since.
Friday the 13th Part 2, 1981. Friday the 13th Part 2 also has 10 kills, this time all by the hands of Jason Voorhees, who is now back from the dead for revenge after the death of his mother in the first film, and is somehow a grown adult. My favorite Jason kill in Part 2 would have to be Mark, the wheelchair-bound guy. He gets struck in the face with a machete and then rolls backwards down a long flight of stairs. I don't know if a stuntman actually rolled down the stairs like that, or if they had a dummy or something sitting in the chair, but it's awesome.
Mark is my favorite death in this movie as well. I just feel like it's one of the most memorable, and it's just crazy how gnarly it is that the force of the machete hitting him in the head, pushes him back, and seeing him fall down the stairs and everything. I guess it's just one of the coolest deaths in Part 2. Part 2 is my favorite in the series, but the kills aren't as exciting as a lot of the other movies, so I guess this one just stuck with me because it's memorable.
Friday the 13th Part 3, 1982. Friday the 13th Part 3 has 12 deaths, all by Jason Voorhees, who in this film gets his infamous hockey mask from killing Shelley. My favorite Jason kill in Part 3 would have to be Rick, who gets his head crushed by Jason, causing his eyeball to pop out from his eye socket, which flies towards the camera in 3D.
My favorite kill is Andy. He gets chopped between his legs and his crotch with a machete while he's doing a stupid handstand. The part, I guess that's my favorite about it, is later, before Debbie gets killed, when she's laying down, she looks up and sees Andy all folded up in the rafters of the cabin. He's just so crumpled up and all bloody, dripping blood down on her, and it's really cool.
Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, 1984. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, which is Part 4 in the series, and the last Friday the 13th to ever release. Never mind. There are 14 deaths in Part 4, all but one by Jason Voorhees, the other one being the death of Jason himself by the hands of Tommy Jarvis. My favorite Jason kill in Part 4 would have to be the coroner Axel, who gets his throat slashed with a hacksaw, and then, if that wasn't enough, Jason breaks his neck. It's a pretty brutal kill to start the film with.
My favorite kill in the final chapter is when Doug gets his head crushed with Jason's bare hands up against the shower wall. It's just really brutal. I mean, I feel like we're going to use that word a lot, but Jason's a big dude, and that's what he's about. I mean, he's brutal, and just the fact that he completely annihilates this guy with his bare hands is just so cool.
And his grody fingernails.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, 1985. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, which is Part 5 in the series, has a grand total of 19 deaths, 17 by the hands of the imposter killer Roy Burns, who sports a Jason-like hockey mask, only with blue chevrons instead of red ones. The other 2 deaths in this film come from the crazy Victor, who kills Joey over a candy bar, and the death of Roy Burns at the end of the film. My favorite kill in Part 5 would have to be Eddie, who gets his head crushed. A leather strap is wrapped around his head and a tree, and a stick is used to tighten the strap, slowly squeezing his head against a tree, crushing his head.
Again, we agree on this one. That's my favorite kill, as well as when Eddie gets his head smushed with the leather strap. It's just, again, a really different thing that I can't recall having seen in any other movie before it, or really anything exactly like that at all since. And then, again, it's also just the brutality of it, that he's so strong that he can crush someone's skull that way, and his eyes bleeding and everything. It's just really gross and cool. I keep saying everything's cool. I shouldn't be saying a bunch of people getting brutally murdered is cool. My bad.
Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986. Jason Lives has 18 deaths, all by the hands of Jason Voorhees, who is now resurrected in this film on accident by Tommy Jarvis. My favorite kill in Part 6 would have to be the machete triple decapitation of Stan, Katie, and Larry. It goes by very fast, but it's my favorite because you don't get to see Jason kill multiple people at one time very often, so 3 kills at once is pretty great.
My favorite in this one is Bert. He gets his arm torn off, and then he's thrown towards a tree and impaled on a tree branch. And it's gross, but it's also kind of funny because once he falls off, there's a little smiley face carved into the tree and it's all covered with blood. I just think it's funny that they added a slight little bit of humor to one of these kills, especially when it's so intense and bloody.
Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, 1988. The New Blood has 16 deaths, 15 of which are by the hands of Jason Voorhees. The other one is by a young Tina who kills her own dad, I guess accidentally, as she didn't know her own telekinetic strength as a child. My favorite Jason kill in Part 7 is Melissa, who gets an axe to the face. Then Jason throws her across the room, where she crashes over a TV set and into the wall, taking out a lamp in the process, all with the axe still planted in her face. Again, there's just something about an axe in the face. Jason throwing her across the room is great. At this point in the movie, he is so pissed off, and it shows in this kill.
My favorite kill in The New Blood once again involves a tree. It is when Judy is bashed against the tree while inside of the sleeping bag. It is just very intense, and I think it's a pretty creative idea. And it is also one of the more iconic kills. The whole idea of the Friday the 13th series is based around a camp. And so tying it in that way with her being in the sleeping bag, again, it's a slight sense of humor. It was iconic enough for them to readdress it or recreate it in Jason X later on.
Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, 1989. Jason Takes Manhattan has 20 total deaths. 18 of them are by the hands of Jason Voorhees. The other 2 are accidental deaths. My favorite Jason kill in Part 8 is Eva, who is strangled to death on the dance floor of the ship. What makes this my favorite kill is how Jason tosses her limp body and the sound it makes as she crashes onto the dance floor. The stunt woman who performed this should have been paid extra because that sound and how she fell is just perfect.
My favorite in Jason Takes Manhattan is JJ, who is bludgeoned with her own electric guitar. What else is there to say? I mean, that's awesome. And it's a flying V guitar, which, is even more appropriate. Just that shape, it's nice and pointy. It's perfect.
Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, 1993. Jason Goes to Hell has 27 deaths. 25 of them are by the hands of Jason Voorhees, either in his normal form or in the form of one of his many possessed victims. The other 2 deaths are accidental deaths by the hands of Vicky and Jessica. My favorite Jason kill in Jason Goes to Hell has to be Deborah, who is impaled by what looks like to be a metal stand of a street sign while having sex with Luke. The metal is then pulled upward, tearing Deborah in 2 long ways as it cuts through her torso and exits her shoulder. It's a very brutal death indeed.
My favorite is Deputy Josh, who gets possessed and melts to death, I guess. It's just really gross. Again, it's memorable. I'm not insulting the Friday the 13th franchise in any way, shape, or form, but sometimes a lot of the deaths and movies kind of run together for me a little bit, and this is one that I can remember what place it belongs in, because it's so gross and very melty. Oh, and in the unrated version of this movie, that scene goes off even longer, so if you just really love it, make sure you check out the unrated version.
Jason X, 2001. Jason X has 25 deaths, or over 20,000 deaths if you count a complete destruction of the Solaris space station. My favorite Jason kill in Jason X has to be Adrian's. Jason freezes her head in a sink of liquid nitrogen and then slams her face down on a countertop, shattering her head in the process. It's an iconic kill in the series and has been tested in an episode of Mythbusters.
Adrian is also my favorite. I think it's so cool that her face gets shattered against the countertop and just breaks apart like glass. I can't really think of another time again that I've seen that done, and when I pick a favorite kill in the Jason movies, it's usually because I feel like it's unique and kind of like I said for the last film, it stands out for me.
Freddy vs. Jason, 2003. Freddy vs. Jason has 22 deaths. 18 of them are by the hands of Jason Voorhees, although the exact number of people he killed at the rave is unknown. 4 of them are by Freddy Krueger, although some of them are flashbacks of sorts. My favorite Jason kill in Freddy vs. Jason is of Troy, who is stabbed repeatedly in the back with a machete while he lays face down on a bed. Then he has his back broken as Jason folds the bed upward and Trey's body folds backwards. It's a tad corny and over the top, but it's awesome. I remember it getting a huge pop when I saw it in the theaters.
My favorite is when Jason kills Kia, because she is completely obnoxious, and I did not like her character from the start, in addition to the fact that Freddy Krueger is my personal all-time favorite, and she was being completely annoying trying to talk crap about him with like these lame little insults that a 5th grader would try to come up with. So anyway, I was really glad to see her die. But it is also a pretty cool death just in itself. She gets struck in the chest with a machete, and the force of that tosses her back into a tree. I guess I have a thing in these movies about kills involving trees now that we're recording this. I pick deaths that involve trees a lot.
Friday the 13th, 2009. The 2009 remake, or reboot, of Friday the 13th has 14 deaths. 13 of them are by the hands of Jason Voorhees. The other one is of Pamela Voorhees being decapitated during the opening moments of the film by an unnamed counselor. My favorite Jason kill in Friday the 13th, 2009 has to be Chewie, who gets stabbed in the throat with a screwdriver. It's not much, but it's the execution of the kill. If it had been fast, the kill might have been boring, but the fact that Chewie fights against Jason to try to stop the screwdriver from stabbing him, and Jason slowly inches the screwdriver toward Chewie and into his throat is terrifying. The quick kills are great, but Jason needs more slow kills like these.
My favorite kill is Trent. Jason shoves the machete through his body and then sort of like picks him up and I don't know how to explain it. But he sort of is like picking him up, and the sharp side is facing up. So while he's picking him up, it's sort of slicing through. And then Jason rips the machete out and impales Trent on a spike on the back of the tow truck. And the tow truck goes driving off and he's dangling. It's just so gross, bloody, and awesome. And also that character is an idiot and a total jerk. So good riddance.
Well, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, happy Friday the 13th. Please subscribe if you like this video and anything horror related. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers.